Welcome back to Dunstan Kiwi Bred. For the first time, the TAB has introduced a leading first season sire market. We spoke with studmasters about some of the leading contenders.
Jimmy Shue, the outsider.
It was commonplace that Jimmy Shue was sent out favourite for much of his racing career.
Jimmy Shue on the outside. Cellarmaster Coleman's asking it to look now. Sadegar to get into third. Jimmy Shue's just in front, and Jimmy Shue the prize.
Now, even in retirement, TAB bookmakers have made the five-time Group 1 winner the favourite for their inaugural leading first season sires market, and he has delivered early in the season.
Going to the front now, What You Want. Over on the inside, Don't Poke the Tiger. Lambarda coming through the centre. What You Want in front though, close to home, and What You Want gets the 2-year-old.
Standing at Waikato's Rich Hill stud, Jimmy Shue has been a popular stallion, serving 111 mares in his first season, which many punters are hoping can translate into winners.
Everyone who's dealt with them so far said they're a pleasure to deal with, and you know they've got a good constitution, eat well, move well, so you know at this stage you know it's all systems go. Most of his good yearlings ended up in Australian stables, most of the ones that went through the sales, so therefore the majority of those will be racing in Australia obviously, which is a little bit of a disadvantage compared with some of the other horses. Look, he was a good 2-year-old himself, and I'm sure he'll get some nice Autumn 2-year-olds, so if they come out, he should be right in the market at the end of the season.
While Jimmy Shue heads the market, Cambridge stud shuttler Cape Blanco has the most named 2-year-olds of any of the first season sires, suggesting he might be one to watch in the market.
He's had the one runner here with Rogie. He ran a nice race at Ruakaka. He was run off his feet, but he came home all right. I've got one with Stephen Ortridge that he quite likes, and Alan Sharrock's got one, and a few other people do like them. Typical Galileos, they're up on the bit, good striding horses with plenty of muscle, so he could make the betting a little bit interesting, I'd say, after Christmas. Cape Blanco's, he won it 2 himself, he's by Galileo. He's had 8 individual winners as 2-year-olds in the USA, Britain and Russia, and he got a black type horse, a nice black type filly, over a mile at Saratoga, so he could be something that might finish late in the season, give Jimmy Shue a run for his money.
The new initiative from the TAB bookmakers is getting praise from leading studmasters.
Great concept. I know they do it overseas, and it's met with a lot of popularity and draws a lot of focus on the new stallions that we've got coming through, so a big tick in that field, and yeah, as I said, like first season sires, and they are the future at the end of the day.
Westbury Stud is represented by Redwood, who at $6 is considered short in the market, and given his staying bloodlines, Redwood is unlikely to have early 2-year-old runners on the track.
Look, I think Autumn 2-year-olds, you're going to see them out, especially once we get that 1,200-1,400 metre trip onwards. And I think you'll probably find that most trainers will train them accordingly. You know, they're not going to be, I would hope, putting too much pressure on them before Christmas. And with the reality, they're going to have a nice autumn run or two and spring 3-year-olds and onwards, and that's what they're bred to do, and hopefully breeding comes through. But I'd say that they're not being very generous on their odds at 6-1. I think High Chaparral and the staying pedigree that he's out of are far from 2-year-old types, so I think the bookies are on the safe side of the bet here.
With the TAB using wins rather than stake earnings as the measure of the size, Echoes of Heaven came into calculations when the Duke of Jazz won at Wanganui on debut.
The Duke of Jazz in front. Sava's trying hard. The Duke of Jazz is home in the first.
All the reports we get are well-muscled, well-developed horses, and we always thought he could probably have a handful of 2-year-olds, but probably 3-year-olds would be his main go.
Having only served a book of just over 50 mares in his first season, numbers on the ground make it a little bit tougher for the well-bred Echoes of Heaven.
Look, I think numbers is a big thing. His first year covered about 52. He's between the 50 and 60 each season. At this stage looking to increase this year. But yeah, I think if they're good enough, they'll get up and compete. So overall, obviously I would like to see more numbers, but I think horses make their own way, and he's done it from day one with nice foals, feedback, now hitting the tracks, great reports, so he may have enough out there to compete all right.
Add to the mix the former Windsor Park shuttler Puamoa, a Derby winner himself who has already had success with his first 2-year-old crop in the Northern Hemisphere, and Bright Hills Farms Delgar also looks ready to strike with a recent trials victory.
But the Delgar filly will take the first heat on the program.
South Island-based sire Zakinto is another who has struck earlier at the trials. The Inglewood stud-based sire might currently offer the best value at $8, with many of his stock poised to hit the racetrack and have Karaka million targets in sight. The leading New Zealand first season sire market is currently open with the TAB on option 988.
It's an interesting concept, and it will surely entice punters to follow those first season sires. With me, Emily, I'm going to go with Jimmy Shue. He'll have runners on the ground, and he was a pretty good 2-year-old himself. Where's your money going?
I have to agree with you, Aidan. I think that he's going to be having the runners getting going early, but I just can't leave without highlighting Zakinto and Redwood. They're coming from classic Juddmonte families, and what an opportunity to breed to those lines, producing top-class horses year in, year out. Talking of classic bloodlines, we're now going to do this week's Pedigree of the Week is Preferment, son of the recently deceased Zabil. King Country couple Leo and Barbara Anselmi's initiation into the world of breeding couldn't have been any less momentous. The Anselmis joined Cambridge couple Michael and Helen Moran for their first breeding venture, sharing the ownership of Better Alternative. Michael Moran bought the Flying Spur mare for $10,000 in Melbourne soon after she'd finished her racing career. Moran immediately sent Better Alternative to Lonhro as her first mate, the resulting colt selling for $260,000 before consecutive matings with Cambridge stud super sire Zabil, on a full share basis with Sir Patrick and Justine Lady Hogan. The first of those two foals was rezoned, which sold for $400,000 at Karaka on her way to winning the Group 3 South Australia Fillies Classic. The second was Preferment, bought for $190,000 by leading Sydney trainer Chris Waller as part of a package of classic potential yearlings he was keen to aim at Derby and Oaks races. While Preferment had shown early potential leading to his second placing in the listed Geelong Classic, he still went into the Group 1 Victoria Derby as a maiden, not that it mattered as he fought tenaciously to score. While the Morans had enjoyed breeding success through champion gallopers So You Think, and the Hogans behind the breeding of gallopers the quality of Octagonal, Warwad and Surround, Preferment gave the Anselmis their first Group 1 breeding success with just their first broodmare. Better Alternative had two more foals before the Morans and Anselmis sold her in foal to O'Reilly to an Australian syndicate for an undisclosed amount. She had already been remarkably profitable, with her 4 yearlings sold at Karaka fetching a combined $1.27 million. Preferment has since claimed his second Group 1 success in the Turnbull Stakes and looks poised for a tilt at this year's Melbourne Cup. Better Alternative is out of the canny lad mare Ancient Lights, who also produced Group 2 Villiers Stakes winner Dances on Waves. Ancient Light's three-quarter sister, Ancient Song, won the Group 1 Salinger Stakes at Flemington. Preferment's sire died at Cambridge Stud last month, but not before establishing himself as New Zealand's greatest stallion, winning the Dura Award 15 times, his 156 stakes winners including 44 at Group 1 level. Preferment is sex-balanced inbred 3x5 to Sir Ivor and 4x5 to Northern Dancer. This week's Pedigree of the Week is proudly brought to you by International Animal Health Products.
Yes, Preferment looks an exciting prospect for some of the leading staying events in Melbourne this spring. That brings to a close this week's edition of Dunstan Kiwi Bred. Join us next week when we farewell champion sire Zabil as we pay tribute to a horse that has done so much to shape the New Zealand breeding industry. I look forward to your company next week.